Metal Jesus here, and I am back again with Kelsey. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on.
So today we're going to be talking about games that we'd like to see get an HD remake. Now this can be in one of two ways. There's HD remakes that are more like Final Fantasy VII, which is a total redo. They're doing brand new graphics, new gameplay. Or it can be more like Final Fantasy X and X-2, which was just a remaster they just kind of polished and put back out.
That's right. So we got a bunch of games that we would like to see HD-ified. So let's take a look.
So the first one I wanted to show off was Persona 3 and 4. This kind of follows the Final Fantasy X, X-2 thing that they've been doing where they release a couple games together. And these are both super freaking popular and good, so I'm amazed they haven't done this yet. There were quite a few PS2 games that I went to pick and then turned out they've already done HD remakes.
I know.
That happened to you too?
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Or it was announced, you know, it's like, oh, it's coming to PSN, you know.
So HD remakes are pretty popular, but for some reason these two have been left out. Persona 3 and 4, I don't know if you've played them.
I played quite a bit of 3.
Okay, 3 is my favorite.
Yeah, although I wonder if the reason why they haven't done, I don't know, but it's that controversial gun to the head.
Maybe.
Which I really thought was pretty, when I first played it, I was like, holy crap, they're like shooting themselves in the head.
Oh my gosh,
right?
the very first cutscene in the game, you see a girl holding a gun to her head, and I'm like, what am I getting myself into? But it's a really great RPG. It's long, it's dark. This one's also pretty dark. It's got more of like a murder mystery feel to it.
I didn't get as much into the fourth one. I'm not sure why. I think it just came along at a time when I just had a bunch of other games to play.
I completely understand.
Yeah.
They're long. They're hard to get into if you do not like long RPGs. But if you're a fan of JRPGs and Japanese culture especially, because they're heavy with Japanese culture influences and references, definitely give these a shot.
Cool. For me, I'm going to go to the PC back in I think this is like the late 90s, but that is Interstate 76. You have not played this?
I've never even heard of it until today.
This game is so awesome. This is a total hidden gem. When it came out, I think it was kind of popular, especially for racing fans like myself. But what's really cool about this game is that it's an alternative 1976 where it's kind of like almost like Mad Max, but
apocalyptic.
Exactly, but it's stuck in the 70s, so it's got this amazing funk groove soundtrack. I mean, this is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. I can put this on today and just like get down, you know. It's like that kind of funky groove. It's awesome, but there's just tons of attitude in this game. It's really fun. The thing is, though, is that it doesn't hold up really well today. It needs an HD. It needs a complete overhaul because. This came out at a time whenever like 3D accelerators were fairly new, and so it was kind of pushing the PC back in the day, but it's very simplistic today. Now you can download this and buy this off of GOG.com, but it barely works. I mean, the graphics are really glitchy and stuff like that. Like you can see through stuff, or you might drive through a mountain, things like that.
So is this like a racer or like a battler, like Twisted Metal? Or?
Yeah, it's very. It's almost like Twisted Metal, although it's kind of like part. I want to say Gran Turismo, but that's not really it. But it's definitely a little bit more on the simulation side.
Okay.
But you do a lot of battling.
Guns.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got a pretty cool, physics model in there and stuff like that. But again, it's a ton of attitude. I'd love for them to remake this. I would buy it in a second. So. I'd
buy it too. It sounds awesome.
It is really awesome.
All right. So the next thing I want to take a look at is Pokemon Snap. Everybody loves this game. And I've heard multiple people say that they need an HD remake of this. I think this could go both ways, honestly. I think if they just put it on the Virtual Console, people would be totally happy with that.
Yeah, I think so.
But it could also totally do a really cool, brand new Pokemon Snap, add all of the new characters, or don't, just make them more realistic.
Yeah.
And use the Wii U gamepad to take the pictures. I've heard this idea many times before, but I'm just obsessed with it. It sounds like a great idea. Why haven't they done it?
Yeah, it's weird that this is kind of like a little bit of a forgotten game. I mean, it's been a long time that they just haven't brought it back on the Wii or the GameCube. None of that stuff.
It's surprising.
Yeah, it is.
Because Pokemon's very popular.
Yeah.
And everyone really liked this one. So.
Interesting. All right, next up for me, I'm going to go to this, which is one of my favorite games on the PSP. That is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. Have you played this?
I actually haven't. I've played Actual 7, but I haven't played Crisis Core, unfortunately.
Do you collect for the PSP?
I just started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm very new to. I've had like 15 games, I think.
Okay, cool. Well, this is one that I think surprised a lot of people. I don't know. I mean, I think it sold fairly well, but it is a little bit of a departure. It's more of an action RPG,
which I like.
Yeah. What I like about this game is that it perfectly flows right into Final Fantasy VII. I mean, it really is like a really nice addition to that universe. But would it require any sort of like, rebuilding or anything like that? I don't think so. I mean, they might do a little bit of camera work with like a dual thumbstick, but as far as the gameplay, I think it's nearly perfect. I rarely finish big RPGs, and I finished this one, so I loved it.
Well, they kind of did a similar thing with Type O. Final Fantasy Type O, which was a PSP game in Japan, and then they did do an HD remake of it. And that was I would call it like a total remake.
Yeah.
I mean, the character models were very much more fleshed out, but I could see it going both ways. I mean, if that one was successful, I think this one could be too.
Yeah, I mean, people who play this game usually like it quite a bit, so you should check it out.
I will.
Cool.
All right, so the next one I want to talk about is Harvest Moon Back to Nature. This is one of the better Harvest Moons, and it's very, very similar to Harvest Moon 64. In fact, they have like all the same characters in it, but this is the better version. Anyone who's played both will tell you that. This one has a working kitchen in it. And
this blank look, I've never played
Harvest Moon?
No,
okay, so you're a farmer.
I played Animal Crossing. Is that close? Don't hate me. I have no idea.
No, it's not like super far off. I mean, that it's a kind of a
simulation thing.
Yeah, and it's go at your own pace type thing. This one's one of the harder Harvest Moons, by which I mean there's like no tutorial in it. They just kind of drop you on a farm and they're like, grow things.
Oh, okay,
do it.
I'm gonna ask a dumb question. So the Harvest Moon games, they're farming games.
Yeah,
right?
so you inherit a farm, and you have to basically make it successful. You get it, and there's like weeds and rocks and stuff everywhere. So you go plant some crops, you raise chickens, cows, and all this stuff takes a while to get there because you have to get, the funds to go buy a cow and that kind of thing. And then you'll get relationships with people in the town. You can eventually marry someone in the town.
That's why it's sometimes similar to Animal Crossing, correct?
Yeah, I mean, in the relationship aspect and the kind of like chores and errands thing, absolutely. But this is the better one because it has more in it than Harvest Moon 64, which is also really great. But this has got a working kitchen, and there's like dog races and horse competitions and that kind of stuff. So just more content in this one. They actually did put this out on PlayStation Network, so you can play this. I was playing it on the Vita, but it still looks kind of bad. Yeah. Old PS1 graphics. So it'd be really cool if they remade this.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, next up for me is one of my favorite first-person shooter series of all time, and that is the TimeSplitters series right here.
Awesome series.
I know, so much fun. And a couple things I like about this is that so many first-person shooters today, especially, are kind of more realistic. They're more Call of Duty, even Halo, even though it's in the future. It feels like a military shooter, right?
Right.
And it's very serious or whatever. These games are just fun. They're over the top. They're wacky. There's like monkeys. There's like a special attack that shrinks people down.
That's awesome. That's the kind of stuff I mean, why do all shooters have to be serious?
I know. And so I miss the TimeSplitter series, and really they don't have to do much. I mean, I'm showing 2 and TimeSplitters 3, which is future perfect here. I wouldn't want them to change anything really, because I think they're really well balanced. They would just simply need an HD kind of spackle of paint on there, and I think that they would be awesome.
And the original Xbox already had pretty decent graphics.
That's true.
Sometimes you go back to those older systems and you're like, oh my god, I used to think this was good. But
right.
Honestly, the original Xbox still holds up okay.
Yeah, that's very true. And so these are some of my picks right here.
Alright, so the other one I want to talk about was Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. This is an awesome game. It came out on the GameCube and the original Xbox. I've only ever played the GameCube one, so I don't know if there's any differences between the two, but I don't think there are. This is a big monster brawler. It's super fun. You get to play as 11 different Godzilla monsters, beat up your friends, destroy cities. One of the first levels you have is Seattle.
Oh.
So if you want to go kick over the Space Needle as Godzilla. Yeah. This actually was pretty good, and it still holds up okay graphically. This could probably just use a little bit of a polish on it. Maybe a little better balancing, because there's Mechagodzilla in it.
Okay.
And he will just kick your butt. He's way overpowered. Or maybe I'm just bad at the game. But it's a really, really fun one, and it's a fun, 4-player party game if you like brawlers.
You know, it's funny. I haven't been collecting a lot lately for my GameCube because I kind of feel like I'm sort of at a good spot with it. But then you bring this on, I'm like, okay,
you gotta get this one.
I know.
Yeah. GameCube's got a lot of good party games. This is another one.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. All right, and then back to the original Xbox for me. I talk about this game a lot on this channel. That is Crimson Sky's High Road to Revenge. Microsoft, what are you doing? Come on!
This was bundled with Xbox Live.
I know. This is such a great game. It's an aerial shooter set back in kind of like an alternative 1940s, 1930s style. There's really nothing wrong with this game at all. It looks and plays great even today. Again, I think that, well, that's not true. There are some foggy parts to the game where I think it was pushing the Xbox quite a bit. They could just increase the resolution, bring it out in HD.
Make it better.
Maybe more levels. I would personally love to just see a whole new game in the series, but take this game, remaster it for HD, put it out on the Xbox One. I might even buy an Xbox One for it.
If you don't have this game yet, by the way, it's seriously $4.
Yeah.
So definitely worth picking up if you have an original Xbox.
You know, when Drunken Master Paul comes over and we're looking for a game for he and I to play, this is almost always the one that we put in because, again, we can just put it in, shoot each other out of the sky, we start swearing, we start drinking. It's a great night. So my pick. It's awesome.
So the final thing I wanted to talk about, I actually don't have a physical copy of it because it's extremely rare, but it's a game called LSD Dream Emulator. Some of you have probably heard of this because it's gained kind of a cult following and reputation in the last 5 or 6 years. This was a Japan-only PlayStation 1 game. I love imports, and this is one of the weirdest things to come out of Japan, and that's saying a lot.
It's called LSD.
It's called LSD,
yeah.
And there are no references to the drug in it, believe it or not. So this is a game where it's hardly a game at all. It's more just like an exploration. You are walking through a dream world, and you just kind of walk around, and there's weird colors and textures and animals and people and stuff that pop up, and you know, whenever you hit something, you get transported to another dream world. It's really cool, and it's just a really cool experience overall. Definitely worth checking out, at least looking at videos or something of it. But it's a really cool game that could totally use a brand new, with a new engine, could look really cool and be a really interesting experience.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love those kind of games. You reminded me when you're talking about that of Seaman,
yes,
the Dreamcast, a game which is not really a game, but again, it's an experience. And I like that. I like when developers kind of go out on a limb, try something new. Yeah,
it doesn't always have to be you can win this type thing. So LSD Dream Emulator is a really weird one of the coolest imports out there, but pretty hard to find.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, we would love to know down in the comments what are some games that you would like to see HD-ified, and we are referring, of course, both to games that need maybe a new coat of paint, maybe just in like a increase in resolution, or some that need to be kind of overhauled a little bit. But we'd love to know. That'd be pretty cool. Where can people find you? You can find me on Twitter at KelsLewin. Or you can follow my podcast, which is at GameBlitzShow or GameBlitzShow.libsyn.com. Or GameBlitz.libsyn.com. We'll print it right here.
Yeah.
A really great podcast, by the way, so I've enjoyed it quite a bit.
Thank you.
You have some very interesting topics on there, so it's awesome.
Thanks.
All right, guys, thanks very much for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care. You know some other games that need an HD update? How about TIE Fighter on the PC. So freaking awesome. I love that Star Wars game. And also Shadow Hearts on the PlayStation 2. Those are some pretty awesome role-playing games. Nobody talks about them.